Hello and welcome to Sustainable Solutions from Syngenta. I'm Femi Oke. I will be your moderator for the next 90 minutes. This virtual event is part of Solutions Week. Solutions Week is part of FFA 2021. That's also the hashtag you can use to share the extraordinary information you are about to have. So what are we doing here for 90 minutes? Well, we are about to find out how is Syngenta approaching sustainability, not just approaching it, but measuring it. That is really important. We have a climate crisis, we have a biodiversity crisis. So then how does agriculture, how do farmers make sure that their work, their products, their farming is sustainable and also resilient? Really important questions. As you'll see on your dashboard, there is a little section there for questions. I would love you to be able to use that. There is no question that is too simple, no question that is too complex. We shall find out from the panelists, but no question that is too complex for you to ask. Use that Q&A box there. This is an interactive situation. So you can talk to us, we will talk to you, and we look forward to doing it. This is a very fast moving program as well. So you think it, type it, and then hopefully your thoughts will be in this program. So we are going to start looking at Syngenta's approach to sustainability. I'm going to say hello to Petra. Petra, hello. Welcome. All right, Petra,
Hello,
you're the perfect person to start with. Petra, tell everybody your exact job title.
I'm the acting Chief Sustainability Officer for Syngenta. And I guess now you want to know what this is, right?
Exactly. You read my mind. Go ahead.
So in Syngenta, we have sustainability. We look at it in two angles, right? The first is the sustainability of our own operations and of our supply chain. So how can we save carbon and emissions and the products we produce and the collaborators we work with? However, we have a much more exciting angle in sustainability in Syngenta, which is how can we improve the farming systems to be more sustainable? I joined the company because I was so intrigued by the purpose: help farmers feed 9 billion people within the boundaries of the planet. This is where we have the leverage, and this is where we put most of our thinking and energy.
In the context of Syngenta, how do you see it? Sustainability. What does that mean in practice?
Good in practice. We want to help farmers to produce crops as efficiently as possible, while at the same time restoring soil, at the same time improving biodiversity and capturing carbon. So actually we want to solve what we call the triple challenge, right? We want a farming system that works for nature's consumer and the farmer. So we have to solve the issue of food security, farmer livelihood, and natural impact.
Petra, I'm just thinking about business practices because it's, that old phrase about walking the talk. So here you are with the bar set very high, standards very high. But in terms of business practices, what is it that Syngenta is doing where you can say, and this is why we can proudly say, we are a sustainable organization and we also promote sustainability? What example would you give?
Yeah, any business model will only be sustainable for agriculture if it supports sustainable farming. And we are actually investing in three different things. We are investing into new products that have less impact on nature but are still efficient. We are investing in new digital solutions which actually help the farmer make better decisions on farm, meaning he can use his own farm data to take decisions rather than judging on average. And of course, we are providing new business model because also at farm level there needs to be a business model to invest in sustainability.
Mm-hmm. This is a new job for you, a new role for you. Why did you want this job?
I think, as I tried to say in the beginning, it's the purpose, right? It is a huge task actually to allow this world, to feed this world, the 9 billion people, which we are soon going to be within the boundaries of this planet. And what I liked about Syngenta is I'm not doing it alone. It's everybody's job in Syngenta, because we need the business model to be geared towards sustainability, and not only one function who invents what good looks like.
One of the thoughts, the reason we were hoping to have Alex and really looking to Ukraine, because they're doing some really interesting things in sustainability. You wouldn't necessarily put Ukraine and sustainability together, but they were about to flip the script on us. So the work that Syngenta is doing at the moment with different regions, can you give us a few more examples about why you would proudly say this is us doing sustainability in action?
Yes. So one example is for carbon farming, right? We want to understand better how much carbon can be stored in soil, by which practices, and finally, how can the farmer also make money by it, for example, from selling carbon credits at some stage. So we put a lot of effort into figuring out both the science as well as the business model behind it. Another opportunity, of course, is we're also looking at soil health. How can we improve soil health? How can we restore biodiversity? And you're going to hear more concrete examples about it this afternoon from colleagues who explain the programs. But we are actually, as an innovation powerhouse, trying to build the knowledge base, to enable the models our customers can use.
I'm just thinking about Syngenta being, would you say Syngenta is a pioneer in sustainability, or would you say that you are looking to seeing what the market is doing and then following the market? Where would you place yourself? Are you cautious or adventurous?
So the whole company is very, very committed to get it right, driven by our CEO, and it very often starts at the top. And you will have the opportunity to listen to Eric at the FFA panel on March 23. Are we starting? Are we pioneering? We have committed to invest $2 billion in the next 5 years to produce agricultural breakthroughs. With that investment commitment, we are actually leading in the industry. If we are fulfilling the promises, well, that's probably for our customers to judge upon.
All right, Petra, hold tight for a moment. Let's see how resilient we can be and see if we're able to go to Alex. Alex, are you with us? All right, very good.
Yeah,
Alex
I'm
is
here.
joining
Yeah,
us.
I'm sorry. I cannot see you, but I can hear you.
All right, and you sent us your best photograph, which is excellent. Alex, really good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Alex, tell everybody officially what you do. Go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Alex. I'm president of Ukrainian Agribusiness Club, which is the largest Ukrainian agribusiness association. And at the same time, I'm also general director or CEO of one of the largest Ukrainian agriculture companies, IMC, which is operating in the North Ukraine, roughly 123,000 hectares of land, producing more than 1 million tons of grains and oilseeds.
Alex, what I love about you being in this conversation is that you bring so much expertise, so much experience, and also, if people don't know what Ukraine is doing in the field of sustainability, a few surprises as well. Tell us more.
Yeah. Ukraine is actually one of the largest producers worldwide of the grains and oilseeds as a global player on the agriculture markets. And the fascinating development of Ukrainian agriculture over the last 20 years is mostly linked to the international input suppliers, but also to the Ukrainian agriculture companies called agro-holdings, which do operate more than 20,000 hectares of land in Ukraine. So that led to the situation that Ukrainian economy is booming because of agribusiness. So more than 40% of the Ukrainian export is linked to the agribusiness or to agriculture, and more than 12% of the national population is still working in agriculture. So for the Ukrainian economy, agriculture is a kind of cornerstone, and that means also that's very, very important for their society. So, and as you know, Ukraine has signed 2 years ago the big deal with European Union, so-called Deep and Comprehensive Association Agreement. So right now we are looking toward the European Green Deal. So for us, sustainability is a kind of success, and that's not only the success which is actually coming in 10, 20 years, but a success right now, because we believe strongly that we can also win agriculture companies. They can also win from the sustainable approach, and we are also trying to partner with successful companies like Syngenta to get better results. For us, sustainability is actually not only kind of nice PR action for the society, for the policymakers. For us, means also that we believe in next 10 years to get up to $100 per hectare more of net income because of the sustainability. That means for us, of course, we need to invest more in the technique and equipment, soil preparation, but in the same time, sustainability is a key for the Ukrainian agriculture sector right now.
You are partnering with Syngenta when it comes to carbon farming. Tell us about that partnership. How did that happen? And how is it going?
The large Ukrainian agriculture companies, they are quite good right now in terms of doing business and efficiency and productivity. So the agriculture companies, and we are strongly believing in the Agribusiness Club that we need strong partners and good international partners. Syngenta is proposing to the large companies as the kind of mix of methodological steps. How can we be more sustainable together with Syngenta? So right now we are developing kind of pool and a clear step list what we can do together to be more successful. And I do believe such partners like Syngenta, that is exactly what the Ukrainian agribusiness needs right now.
I'm going to bring back Petra so I can have Petra and Alex together because we've got some questions coming in for you. Let me start with this one. How are farmers or even consumers of products seeing this sustainable approach? Are they ready to join in? Alex, you start first.
Yeah, of course we are ready. We are ready, and I said it before that we do not make it because of the PR action, but we strongly believe that investments over the next 5-7 years, which we need to do, they will bring us finally more money. So we are ready for that.
Petra, you take the consumer angle. Are consumers ready? I feel that consumers are ahead, right? Consumers are ready. They like the idea of sustainability, but they're not necessarily wanting to pay for it, depending where in the world you live. Petra, consumers, are they ready?
So I believe consumers very clearly know what they want. They don't yet sure how to get it. And this is the role actually of us together with the value chain, to offer the most sustainably grown food, possibly even at the best price and in the most transparent way. And I would very much love to comment on what Alex has been saying. Yes, because we are close to our farmers. Many farmers care deeply for the soil and for biodiversity and everything. And still we need to help them make it a business model because long term it means an investment. And it's our job also to align the incentives of the value chain, of the subsidies, of the consumer transparency, to also make it economically more attractive for farmers to really farm sustainably.
I like this question. Do the new products mentioned by you, Petra, do they include biologicals? Somebody hasn't been looking ahead to the rest of our program because we're going to focus on biologicals very soon. But good question, very prescient.
Absolutely, it's absolutely part of the toolbox we want to offer farmers, right? And you will hear a little bit later in the program about the latest acquisitions. So we offer both biocontrols as well as biostimulants. Now we are also investing to bring even more of these products to you rather sooner than later, because we believe they are an important part of the future.
Alex, here's a question from you from our audience. How do you expect sustainability to bring additional income per hectare, Alex?
Yeah, we are calculating right now different methods, and one of them is actually the carbonate markets, credit markets. So the another one issue is look on Ukraine last year. So the south of Ukraine has had so dry weather because of climate change. So that means that they have lost practically 100% of the harvest. So that means changing of the soil preparation to, for example, no-till, to strip-till, to different types of soil preparation. operation will also lead to more sustainable agriculture, but also will lead actually to the increasing incomes. And I do strongly believe that's in no way we have to go that way because of the climate change as well, but also because the society needs that. So we should be really transparent. And the previous question of you, Femi, that's exactly the right one, because I think the biological protection of the plants is the future. So we need to go there. And we should try to find the solutions together with the companies like Syngenta, with farmers, with players local, or with politicians. So that's very important, especially right now. If we look on the power of social networks, that's a clear answer for me. We have to go there.
Torsten Lobner asked this. I'm going to pose this to you, Petra. Does Syngenta already buy carbon credits from growers? Are you there yet?
We are in the last stages of developing a model, and we even go further. We not only want to buy them, we believe we can resell them, because there's a huge opportunity and there's a huge market for companies who are looking for sustainable offsets. You know, with all the commitments on carbon neutrality, the offset market is going to grow much, much faster. And so we are looking currently at the model. We also understand that in the European Union, there will be a carbon credit market established, probably by 2023. That was the last I heard. So we also can say, you know, what we can do here and help farmers enter that market by being able to document what they do.
I'm going to pose this question to both of you, because you come from this from different perspectives. But Alex, how do you make money from being sustainable? I don't want you to give us your secret sauce, but is it something where you can see profit and make profit?
Oh, that's a very good question. Thank you for that. You know, the point is that in agriculture we are facing right now a lot of challenges, which are, for example, partly independent from us, like a climate change, but in the same time we are actually making more money when we are very predicted to our stakeholders. And predictability to the stakeholders and trustful, respectful relationship with stakeholders means for us also make much more money, because it's clear if you are producing in a sustainable way and also doing that very transparent, then you can hope that the society will answer also to you. And that especially if you have, for example, animal production. So I have in my company also 2,000 milk cows, and believe me, that's a very difficult way actually to explain to the people, especially to the young people, of what can you do better to save the water, to save the soil, to prepare actually milk and organic milk in the right way. So I think that not simple to answer, you know, how can we get more money, how can we make more money, but the very simple, they are probably not simple answers right now on that questions, because they are very complex. So but at the same time, I do strongly believe that we need to be together, input suppliers, traders, and also the producers, just to find a way how can we be together, sustainable, transparent to our consumers, because otherwise we cannot actually dream about the future, the successful future in terms of making more money, because the times we will just produce and sold on the market everything, I think they are over. That's definitely over.
Mm-hmm. Alex, thank you so much for your input. Petra, we are just about to wrap up on this little segment, which is about Syngenta's approach to sustainability. So this idea about making money, why would you do it if it didn't make money? Where is the money? Briefly, wrap us up.
We are in a business where we are used to invest in the future. And our business model, you know, we invest today and what are we going to sell in 10 years? So we fundamentally believe that any viable business model will have to be sustainable. We also believe that any sustainability model needs to be viable from a business perspective. And we very much want to work with stakeholders, farmers together to make sustainability profitable, because once it's profitable at farm level, then we will also be able to make money with our sustainability solutions.
Petra, Alex, thank you very much for kicking us off in style. Excellent questions. I'm looking forward to more. Keep them coming when you see the panelists ask them the questions, because Alex and Petra, they're gone now. Now they're watching Sustainable Solutions from Syngenta with you. So, how does Syngenta help farmers tackle climate change? Have a look at this solution. That video was called Biologicals to Harness the Power of Nature. You're already anticipating we were going to be talking about biologicals. Your question was way ahead of us. Thank you so much for that. Corey Hark, hello, welcome. Nice to see you.
Hi.
Corey, impress
Hi.
us with your job title. What is it and what do you do?
Yeah, it's a very impressive title. So my title is Head of Biologicals for Syngenta. So it's
interesting and sometimes erroneous of what biologicals are. Do you want to give us a 101 so people are very clear what we're talking about?
Yeah, certainly. So biologicals, it's really all about stress management. And we really narrow biologicals down into two broad categories. The first is biocontrols. So these are naturally occurring materials, that really manage biotic stresses. So when I say biotic stresses, what I mean are those pests that might be in the way of that plant finding its full potential. So whether it be an insect, whether it be a disease, whether it be a weed, it's all those things are in competition. So the first broad category is biocontrols, and we really focus for biologicals, what are naturally occurring materials that we can use, in encouraging nature by understanding the science to overcome some of those biotic stresses. The second broad category is around biostimulants, and this is all about stimulating the natural process of the plant, really about overcoming abiotic stresses. So when I say abiotic stresses, these are the stresses such as cold, drought, nutrient use, efficiency. How can you be more efficient with the fertilizer that's available that might be in the soil? It could be through a seed, through a leaf, through a root. So it's about how do we manage and enhance the plant's ability. So for a deeper understanding, I always like to use a human health analogy. We spend a lot of our science and a lot of our technology and billions of dollars a year of understanding how do we come up with new drugs, new vaccines, new therapies to overcome biotic stresses in our body. As we overcome everything from a global pandemic all the way to the common cold or flu. So those biotic stresses are what we focus a lot of our time and effort on. And as we learn more about the human body, and we continue to focus on how do we actually make the human body more healthy through probiotics, through vitamins, through health maintenance and exercise, because what we've learned is a healthier body helps us overcome those biotic stresses that have to be addressed, by drugs and by medicines and vaccines. So it's no different for a plant, and that's really the balance that we're trying to understand and invest more in. Is yes, we're really good at biotic stresses, but how do we also think about how we make that plant more healthy and use that as part of a overall growth and enhancement to the production of crops. So it's a balance of biocontrols and biostimulants would be our overall definition of biologicals.
I really love your analogy. It's an excellent analogy. I understand using that, how it would work on me. But then how do biologicals then work in farming? Could you give us an example?
Yeah, I'll give you an example in both areas. So for biostimulants, and we'll be talking about Vilagro here shortly, but I mean, this is a focus on it. The primary technology is a seaweed extract, where we understand, and this team has really scientifically understood, what is it about this extract, what part of the extract enhances the plant. And with the onset of omics technology and genomics in particular, you can understand now at a genetic level as what the impact that this plant extract might have on a plant that you apply it to, and what genes it regulates, which ones it enhances, which ones it might slow down. And by understanding this from a scientific level, we can have a much deeper impact and a more specific impact on how we can enhance the natural ability and the natural processes of that plant. So that's one example in biostimulants. In biocontrols, an example might be, instead of going out and trying to kill the insect that is that biotic stress to the plant, perhaps we could use a age-old approach of pheromones, right? So how can we use a pheromone in that crop on that hectare to really understand, instead of killing the insect, let's confuse it through the use of sex pheromones, where you're actually confusing the males to not mate with the females, therefore reducing the population of whatever insect might be attacking that crop. So there's a couple simple examples of plant extracts and how those are used for biostimulants and stimulating the natural process of the plant, and then maybe some newer naturally occurring ways of how we manage biotic stresses with plants as well.
So helpful, thank you.
But those are both really great examples of biologicals. Yep.
So we're talking about biologicals in sustainable agriculture, and you mentioned Vilagro. So there was a moment where Vilagro and Syngenta, they decided to work together, to collaborate. You acquired Vilagro. There was this beautiful moment, everybody go and look for this video, where you and Giuseppe shake hands and you're in one part of the world, Giuseppe's in another part of the world, and then you shake hands, which was just a really nice way of showing really how Syngenta is partnering to make sure that sustainability works and is profitable. Tell us about your relationship with Vilagro and what Vilagro does, and hopefully we will get Giuseppe back again and he can fill in the blanks.
I'm happy to speak about Vilagro. It's one of my favorite subjects because I'm so excited about what they bring to Syngenta and how it's really a new. We look at them as a new member of the Syngenta family because they bring so much depth and so much background, so much experience, and really proven pioneer in biologicals. So I'll share a little bit of the background about Vilagro and why the partnership with them is so important to Syngenta, because it really allows us to be part of a bigger solution with Vilagro, part of our family. So I'll start by saying it's a 40-year pioneer of the biostimulant, and they're the market leader today in biostimulants. So Syngenta, yes, we've been in the biologicals market for some time, but Vilagro is clearly in the biostimulant area in particular, from all the way from research all the way out to that engagement with the grower, and this whole balance to build back to what Petra mentioned around this connection to nature, the connection to consumer, and connection to the farmer. These same focus points, these same areas of strength come through in Vilagro. And the other thing that we found a really common ground with Vilagro, and was an easy acquisition for Syngenta in a partnership, is the sustainability as the core of the two different companies. Vilagro was sustainable before sustainability was cool, and they've really, that is at the heart of the culture and heart of what they are, and it's been a really nice connection with Syngenta and what Petra mentioned earlier. And what it really brings to us, and why Vilagro is so important to Syngenta, is it broadens our portfolio in a complementary way. As I mentioned earlier, we have a great Syngenta crop protection portfolio, a great seeds portfolio, but the addition of Vilagro gives us the opportunity to bring in.
I'm just typing. I was like, put Giuseppe on TV if it's
Hi,
available.
Vilagro, there he is.
You caught me typing. I'm like, I see Giuseppe. Ciao, come stai? Giuseppe. All right, we were talking about you. Now we're going to talk with you. Sorry to interrupt you, Chuck, but when we've got the man, let's bring the man in. Giuseppe, you've got so much experience. What are the changes that you've seen in 40 years? So we're now talking about biologicals. It's such an extraordinary situation that we're in now, where we're going back and saying, well, how can nature help us? Go ahead.
Thank you, Femi. And I have to say that when I started this activity, I was 20 years old. I started with the eyes of young person, and I don't believe that I'm the veterans of this industry. At the time, the two main product category that was available for the farmer and the grower was the conventional crop protection product and the conventional fertilizer. And the main goal, it was to produce more. Today, consumers are asking not only to continue to increase productivity, but also to be responsible, and they ask how we produce. Here, the role of plant biostimulant was already explained by Corey, but I would like to add some additional information, for example, about the abiotic stress that also Alex, in his previous comment, was sharing with us how complicated it was for the Ukrainian agriculture to produce under the adverse climate condition. Here, a product like plant biostimulant really could make a big difference. There is a FAO estimation that say that in a yearly base, there is a loss of 200 billions of productivity due to the climate adverse condition, like water scarcity, chilling, drought, flooding. So really from Cinderella product that this was the role of ours in the past, today we see that we can have a really an important role helping the farmer and the growers of the world to produce more using fewer resources.
Tanya, Carly, hi Tanya, thank you. Are farmers already seeing a difference by using biological control? Is this working, and does it mean less cost to them? So are farmers seeing a difference in biologicals control?
Yeah, the main goal and objective is to have an integrated crop management. I don't see, or we don't see, conventional against biologicals. To be honest, I don't think that it's possible to feed 7 billion or 9 billion people using simply biologicals. We need to integrate biologicals with the conventional crop protection in order to maximize, to get the maximum, the genetic potentiality of the crop. This is, I would like to say, is the main focus. About cost, of course, biologicals has to be competitive, and normally the biologicals, it's a bit more expensive of the conventional, and in the past mainly was even less effective. This was reducing a lot the adoption of the biologicals product. But today we can say that there is a lot of investment, there is a lot of science, technology behind the biologicals that make not only efficient efficacy, but also efficient from cost perspective.
Giuseppe, I really appreciate your candor here. If you look at biologicals, are we still looking at experimentation? Is it not there quite yet? Or are you confident that if somebody decides to use biologicals, they're listening to you, they're following Syngenta, that it's not still in the research and development stage?
I have to be not only candid, but very transparent. Unfortunately, our industry don't have a very good reputation In US, the first word that I had to learn, the first slang, it was snake oil, unfortunately. But this is where Valagro was investing in the last decades. And this is where we were really consistent on applying science, technology. For example, Corey was mentioning about genomic. Today, we can show how our product works, why, in which condition, with a strong scientific background.
Antonia asks, how can we work with pheromones on very large fields like 1,000 hectares?
Yeah, I'll address that. It's no different. You have to use it depends on the pheromone, depends on what the target is. But in several cases, it's either a sprayable. In some cases, there's puffers. In some cases, where you put them strategically on the acres. And there's also new technologies that are even the clips, like for example in grapes. So the pheromone actually comes in the clips where they clip the vine to the actual trellis. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. And in some cases, in particular in small holder areas, it might have to be a community approach of growers. And we found that to be really successful in some work we're doing with Indonesian growers right now. So the technology is really sound. The application, to your point, is something that we continue to expand and learn more about.
These questions are so good. Thank you so much. And really tough questions like this one from Christine McCormick. Are biologicals viewed more favorably by NGOs who would typically not be in huge support of Syngenta? Corey?
That's for them to decide. I mean, we can put forth the best technology and make the investments in how do we advance these technologies. I think what's really interesting about biologicals right now is the science is advancing them at a pace that we haven't experienced in the past. So what that gives us, one example that I will use where I think a really good integrated approach of biologicals and where it might be more favorable to an NGO or to a consumer is in an integrated pest management program. For example, you might start with a more conventional herbicide or a fungicide and insecticide program and finish with a biological or bioinsecticide, biofungicide. Therefore, you're tailing off and reducing residues of pesticides in produce. So it's a little bit to Giuseppe's point. It's not either or. It is what's the combination of these two, and how do we feed the 7 to 9 billion people in a sustainable way using biologicals?
I feel you've answered Bill Clark's point, but Giuseppe, I want you to build on this because I heard you say this almost immediately, but let me give you the point from Bill. Hi, Bill. UK biologicals cannot currently replace modern crop protection products, and even if they partly replace current products, it will probably result in lower yields, leading to food security issues. It's difficult to reconcile sustainability and food security, or is it, Giuseppe? Go ahead.
I don't think that we have a different option than reconcile these two aspects. Frankly speaking, I don't see conventional agriculture against or versus the organic one. To me, we need to have all agriculture that are adopting all is needed in order to become more sustainable. And in this case, I repeat, the biologicals product are fundamental tools to help the grower on that big challenge that becomes a huge opportunity for us.
I'm going to use this final question as a wrap-up question here. It's from Stefania Luzzetti. Where do you see biologicals in 5 years' time? Would they overrun chemical pesticides? I'm going to get a response from Corey, a response from Giuseppe, and I will thank you both. Corey, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the questions. It's a really good one. Will it overrun synthetic crop protection? Likely not. If you were to compare the two markets right now, globally, the crop protection market is around 70 billion, and biologicals are a mere $4 billion, although it's growing at a very fast rate. But as I mentioned earlier, a couple of the promising points and why we're investing here is there's so much science to be unleashed, and using nature and understanding nature better and using the tools available to us of understanding plants at a more molecular genetic level and the impact we can have on them. There's a brighter future for biologicals now than there ever has been. And that's mostly because it's science driven, and mostly because it's, back to this nature, consumer, and farmer as our primary focus targets of how do we address each one of those segments. So will it overtake? No, but it will be an important part of the production process that a grower uses, absolutely.
Giuseppe, I remember you started our conversation saying, I started this when I was 20. I've been in the business for 40 years. You look amazing. Another 5 years, I'm sure you'll look exactly the same. But in 5 years' time, where will biologicals be?
Biological will continue to grow for sure faster than the conventional, but for sure there is and I have to say that since I started 40 years ago, my intention, it was not to replace, it's not one or the other. For example, our product helps to make fertilizer more efficient, and there is a huge needs there, but we cannot produce without fertilizer. What we can do is to help the conventional fertilizer being more effective. And I think that this, accomplishing this kind of task, we will achieve a lot in terms of productivity and in terms of sustainability.
Giuseppe, Corey. Giuseppe, it was worth the wait. Corey, thank you. You are our team biologicals, talking about biologicals' place in sustainable agriculture. Appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
We move on. When we're talking about sustainable solutions from Syngenta, you've got to talk about biodiversity. So that is where we're going. I'm already seeing some of your questions about biodiversity. I'm going to bring in Juan. Hello.
Hey.
Hi, really nice to see you. Juan, tell everybody what you do, impress them with your title, go ahead.
Well, thanks, Femi. I'm Juan, I'm the head of responsible business, that's what we call it. And what I'm doing, and I'm doing this for a number of years now, is trying to implement sustainable measures in the way we do business. And that's my main course.
Which is head of sustainable and responsible business. That is a lot
Correct.
to live up to.
That's
it's almost
true.
like having a halo around your head. How do you do that? How do you operate?
Well, I think it's not that complicated to operate in a company like Syngenta and carry that title in a company like Syngenta, because sustainability and responsible business go hand in hand. I'd say that most people that look at the way we do business will recognize that we try our utmost to actually come up with solutions that serve the farmer and serve nature in the best way. And of course, that requires the internal processes, the internal systems, the business development capabilities, and the internal training capabilities to be developed in a way that empowers the organization to develop these ideas and bring them to the market. So in that sense, it's not like a halo thing, it's more like an encouraging title to actually keep on doing what I'm doing.
When I was looking at the flyer for our event, Sustainable Solutions from Syngenta, a couple of words that it described our event as: progressive, energetic, collaborative, all of those things. A word, though, jumped out at me: authentic. And that, I think, is a really important word, because in this journey to sustainability that so many organizations, so many companies are going on, some actually really take that on and really do it. And others are kind of pretending because they kind of have to. Like, if you don't say you're doing it, you are not on the cutting edge. Where is Syngenta in this authenticity? Some people might call it greenwashing, but I think that's a buzzword. And what does that even mean? But authenticity, that's important.
Well, I think, to be absolutely frank with you, if I wouldn't have felt some 35 years ago that this company has an authentic intent to do it better, I wouldn't have joined. I joined basically measuring the effects of pesticides in places where they don't belong. And since then, of course, the science of ecological risk assessment has evolved a lot. And we just heard from Corey how the science in biologicals is evolving, but also the way we design synthetic molecules is much more precise. So, and the way we apply them is much more precise. So this company has been at the forefront of developing basically solutions that are much, much more precise to control what we need to control and avoid the effects and the runoff into spaces where we don't want the chemicals. But to be frank as well, biodiversity seems to be still under threat. So 30 plus years into this journey, and we still see that biodiversity is not evolving as it should. And I'd like actually to make reference to a slide that I prepared for this presentation, because it was already in the early 90s, basically, when we started to realize that you have to do something about conserving the habitat and actually producing habitat protection. Let me quote a professor of mine, just to make the bridge. You know, he once said that after a few meters in the field, you know, even the last bug will have realized that there's not much growing than the crop that was planted, and it will turn around. Or if it doesn't turn around, it will most likely be a pest and eat the crop. So there is no habitat for biodiversity in a normal field unless you start managing it in order to include the biodiversity that is not harming the crop. And that's a science on its own. And we started very early with programs, as you could see on the slide, to develop that, and we've continued it. And we committed with the Good Growth Plan to scale that up, and we did. And we provided the agronomy tools in order to support farmers implementing those biodiversity measures.
In this conversation, we're getting a lot of feedback, a lot of questions, and I'm coming to those questions because people are really keen to talk to you. But we're also going to bring in two of your colleagues from research and development. So hello, Gina, and hello, Javier. Nice to see you. And let me. All right. So this is really important. Gina, tell everybody your job title. Go ahead. Nice to see you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gina Swart, and I'm the Head of Global Product Biology Disease Control.
Great to have you. Javier, introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Javier Perez. I'm the Global Technical Support Manager in the Gina's team.
As we were getting ready for this event, Javier said, I'm somebody who does stuff. I don't talk about it. So we're dragging him into this conversation, but it is well worth it. All right, if I could do a drum roll, I would do a drum roll, because you two are about to make an announcement of something that's very important and very much in keeping with our conversation about biodiversity being a solution for Syngenta when it comes to sustainable agriculture. So, Gina, Javier, go ahead.
So I think, as you are right, Femi, and today is a special day for us because we are launching a new Syngenta brand called Living Grow. And Living Grow is an R&D design project. As you can see in the slide, it's a project that is creating scientific field data to prove that modern agricultural practices can coexist with biodiversity. And this project is being carried out in 5 different countries: Argentina, Chile, Germany, Mexico, and Spain, when we are conducting more than 100 trials in multiple crops, such as stone fruits, grapes, corn, wheat, and soybean, and where our external researchers are measuring several parameters to determine optimal conditions to enhance biodiversity, protect the soil health, and secure the crop yield. But the important thing is, finally, when we got the results, we want to scale up Living Grow and make it available for all the farmers, because for us, for Syngenta, agriculture can and will be part of the solution for a more sustainable food production, enhance biodiversity, and protect the climate.
Gina, what are you researching? What are you measuring exactly?
Well, this is the thing. We've got a really nice slide that demonstrates this, but we are measuring 38 different parameters because you can't manage what you don't know, so we need to understand, we need to generate scientific data to understand all of these different parameters. So on the slide, we've got several different parameters indicated, and these are just some of the examples of the 38 parameters that we're looking at. Now, why did we choose 38 parameters? Now, these parameters are all things that have a direct or indirect indication of soil health, but also the complex interactions between the crop, the soil, insects, and here the focus is not only on pollinators, but all insects. Now, just to give you a brief flavor, because we don't have a lot of time, but looking at things like the microbiota. So microbes are excellent indicators of soil health because they respond very quickly to changes in the soil ecosystem. So they kind of the canary in the coal mine as such. And this is why it's really important to measure these and understand the changes and the shifts in the populations with these measures that we're taking. Very important as well, something else that was mentioned was the impact on the crop and on the quality and on the yield. And these are other parameters that we'll be investigating as well and also measuring in all of these studies. So it's not only about looking at the soil health, it's not only looking at the physical chemical properties of the soil or the insect or soil biodiversity, but it's also looking at the sustainability of the crop for the grower. So it's understanding how profitable is this work that the grower is doing and how much of an impact are these margins having on disease incidence, on incidence of pests. So it's a very complex study of a wide range of different interactions that we're looking at.
So of course, in all of this, the farmer is going to be so important. It's all about the farmer and the farming. What reaction have you had so far?
Well, I must tell you, the reaction that we've had in all of the countries that we've been involved with has been phenomenal. The level of interest and excitement in this project is beyond our wildest expectations. But we're not in this alone. As we mentioned earlier, it's the farmer, but it's also the collaborators and the scientists that are working with us on this project. And everyone is very excited and really supportive about this. And we've made a video to demonstrate exactly what people think about this project.
Within our team, we have been working for the last 10 years on finding effective ways and evidence to reduce pressures on European ecosystems. So in that sense, we joined Living Grow in order to find or to support finding ways to reduce pressures on soil ecosystems in Europe and mainly to reduce the impacts from contaminants on soil biodiversity.
Los beneficios que nos aporta es una visión más integral de la biodiversidad. Anteriormente casi siempre nos centrábamos solamente en lo que son polinizadores y fauna auxiliar, a través de los márgenes que se siembran. Pero nos hemos dado cuenta de que también macrobiota y microbiota, como agentes imprescindibles para el suelo, para la mejora, nos dan un valor, con lo cual el análisis integral de todos estos factores hacen que tengamos un mejor conocimiento de cómo actúa sobre la calidad del producto, sobre la mejora y por tanto sobre un incremento de la producción y de la rentabilidad del cultivo.
The main benefits it's to gather information in an applied research system, which is actually in the field. This is not a lab experiment, which is always a big challenge for most of what we do in our research currently. Since agriculture is facing a challenge to become more sustainable, to be able to provide information that is applied is probably one of the main benefits, putting together knowledge on what's going on in the field with data that we don't have right now about how the different systems get integrated.
Desde ALAS, la Alianza para la Agricultura Sostenible, nos sumamos a todos estos proyectos como pueden ser el Living Grow, que es fundamental que también que las administraciones participen y apoyen.
Within the Farm to Fork strategy of the EU Green Deal, it sets clear actions to protect soils in Europe. In that sense, the work done in Living Grow will ensure a more effective system for management in agro-ecosystems that will ensure a better soil biodiversity and crop coexistence.
Lo que se está trabajando con Living Grow a modo escala, yo creo que se va a masificar bastante, y es lo que yo creo que toda empresa y todo mercado está buscando eso.
Desde nuestra posición como empresa respetuosa con el medio ambiente y la sostenibilidad, sí que recomendamos este proyecto a otros agricultores, ya que aporta unos beneficios potenciales y evidentes.
So, Gina and Javi, people are going to want to know where can they find out more information about Living Grow. We've literally just launched it in our Syngenta Solutions for Sustainable Agriculture. This was it. This was the big launch. Viewers, you were at a big launch for Living Grow. Where can we find out more?
Javi.
Well, you can find in our website. I hope it's already started and launched, and also you will find more information in the social medias. We have Twitter, Instagram, and other medias, so you can follow us and share us. And also we have our mail if you have some questions. So it's Living Grow, like the project, at syngenta.com. So just follow us or send us your questions.
Javi, Gina, stand by. I'm going to bring in Juan because we have questions. Javi, you were just saying if you've got questions. We've got questions right now. Juan, come back into the mix because David was really curious about your job. Do you remember what Juan's job is? He's head of sustainable and responsible business. That is such a great job title. So David was really interested. He says, Juan, how do you measure success for your role?
That's a very good question. And I think the true success in my role is to see how our processes are continuously improving to actually include sustainability measures in the way we make decisions within the company. I guess that's the ultimate measure of success.
This is for everybody. Everybody can have a try at this question. It comes from Steve Smith. Hi, Steve. It's easy to focus on visible organisms when we talk about biodiversity. Do we understand soil biodiversity and the impact of agriculture on it? Aha, R&D team. Do we have that knowledge?
Okay, so I'll jump in there. This is the bit that I'm quite passionate about. So this is one of the components of the project which differentiates it from a lot of other projects that are being done at the moment, because we're not only looking at insect biodiversity, we're looking at the soil microbiome, so the microbial ecology, the microbial biodiversity in the soil, and also the impact of farming practices and these mitigation measures that we're bringing into the Live and Grow pilots, what the impact of this would be on the soil biodiversity. So this is something we're putting a very strong emphasis on in Live and Grow.
We have Team Biodiversity here for you. We're looking at biodiversity in agricultural landscapes. If you've got a question, you've got a couple of minutes to get in your question. Men Costes already did that. How does Syngenta raise the awareness of biodiversity among farmers?
I can try to answer that one. I think what we've learned over the many years that we've involved with farmers about biodiversity management is to actually, I truly believe every farmer that I've met wants to do something good for the biodiversity on its land and the productivity of their crop. But they don't want to compromise, because compromise is a net loss to the operation at the end. So the engagement is about understanding the economics on how to actually make it happen. And I can tell you, implementing biodiversity measures, be it a field margin or something else, is a net cost to the operation to start with. You know, first of all, you need to buy the seeds, that actually are now seeds that can't be commercialized because you can't sell the produce because it's food for the bees. So you need to understand how the system then provides maybe additional natural services to the farming system to compensate for the cost, or brings other benefits to the operation that at the end turn out to become a good way of managing the land in a more diverse way. Because there's reputational benefits, there's other value propositions that can be understood, but that's a collaboration that needs to be done on the ground. And of course, data are very important, and that's why I personally believe Live and Grow is a breakthrough in this respect, because measuring biodiversity is at the moment, and you heard it from some of the question, it's basically nerd's job. You know, it's counting small or very, very small items and try to make sense out of it. It's not many people who know that. You know, if measuring biodiversity becomes like measuring temperature with a weather station, you know, then you actually start engaging even more. So to me, Live and Grow is a very important milestone to make it even more and easier, more attractive and easier to manage biodiversity for everybody, not just farmers.
I like the tricky questions because it really makes us think, because what Syngenta is doing, what your partners are doing is pretty difficult to actually achieve and achieve successfully and achieve profitably. So adds on that it seems less important that farmers are aware of biodiversity than they are aware of climate change. Can I add something? If you're a farmer, you're not aware of biodiversity and climate change, you're not really a proper farmer, right? Because they know. But I think that's a really intriguing pushback out there. Who wants to take that on?
What I can say here is that when we started to discuss with the growers in all the different countries, they know really well that sustainability and biodiversity and preserve the soil is the future, because we are talking that the land is the future. So if they destroy this and they don't take care of it, they don't have land, and the future food production will be lost. So that's why they are starting to think the mind that they need to change and be more sustainable.
One last question. This is a really good question. This is from Alexandre. They're all good questions. Alexandre, Live and Grow, is it a proprietary solution? How do you plan to work with other sustainability metric initiatives in sharing knowledge and data? Thinking of sustainable food trust sustainability metrics for the field, for instance. So is Live and Grow, it's a brand, right?
Yep.
For Syngenta. Gina.
Correct. So Live and Grow is a brand for Syngenta, and basically at the moment it's a pilot project. So it's a pilot running in the countries that Javi was talking about earlier. But the plan is that we would take this program that we've developed ultimately once we've finished the pilot, and then we would roll it out and make it available to anybody who wants to use it. All of the data that's generated out of the pilots and then out of any future work, all of this data is freely available and will be in the public domain. So all of the data that we generate from the pilot, all of the results that we get will be published, will be shared in platforms like this, at conferences, in scientific papers and that kind of thing. But the data will also be available on open platforms for basically anybody who wants to use it can make use of the data. But the protocols that we develop would be part of the Live and Grow brand.
Gina, Javier, one, it's so good to have this conversation with you. You generated a lot of questions. Thank you for the questions, viewers, as well. Would you say that this was a successful launch of Live and Grow? How did it go for you, Javi?
Well, it was perfect. It's never expected, no, having this launch in this kind of event for the future forum for the future agriculture, when there are, I think, more than 1,100 people just connected now. So nobody can expect this kind of launch, I think.
Gina.
I'm absolutely delighted that we had the opportunity to talk about Live and Grow at an event like this. So for me, it's been a great opportunity to share what we're doing, and watch the space. We'd love to share more with you as the results start rolling in.
And Juan, I just want to say your title again, Head of Sustainable and Responsible Business. I feel that we should all have responsible in our title to give us something to live up with. How did the launch go for you?
I think it was a great event, a great opportunity, and a great opportunity to demonstrate, I hope, in a very credible way, that this is not greenwashing, as you said at the beginning, that this is truly at the core of how we try to improve the solutions that we offer to farmers in order to manage the land in a more responsible and successful way.
Wow.
Because without the tools, it doesn't work.
Juan, Gina, Javier, thank you so much. Thank you for being our biodiversity team. So what is next for Europe from a business perspective? Sustainable Solutions from Syngenta brings you Alexandra Brand. Hello, Alexandra. At the end, wrapping us all, bringing us home. I've already had questions from our virtual event about the EU Green Deal. When I say that to you, what is your initial reaction back from a Syngenta's perspective?
Yeah, hello, Femi. Nice to be back with you in a dialogue. So for me, the EU Green Deal obviously will change the way farming is done in the European Union. And it comes at a speed which is unprecedented. It sets target by 2030. That means that European farmers have basically 9 seasons, 9 harvests to try out things to achieve the targets of the Green Deal. And this is why it's very clear for us here in Syngenta that we need to accelerate. We need to accelerate innovation. We need to create this EU innovation powerhouse, and we need to use all the resources we have, and that includes certainly my team, for a couple of thousand people talking day to day with European farmers to explain the new solutions, to explain the innovation, and really, help farmers to implement that they can align towards the target of the Green Deal. And this is really what it's about. We put our money where our mouth is, and we are investing heavily to support European farmers.
Just to give people some idea of what this EU Green Deal means, for instance, organic farming should be 25%, increase that by 25%, cut pesticide use in half by 2030. That's just in the next 10 years. That is really hard work. Is Syngenta really pioneering in terms of this? Yes, we can do this. This is possible. What are you saying to your farmers? What are you saying to your partners to make this happen?
We will try our utmost to help farmers to make it possible. And it requires 3 different areas of innovation. First and foremost, although it sounds counterintuitive, it's innovation in chemistry to help to reduce synthetic chemicals on field. These are new products, new active ingredients who are kinder to nature. And these are precision applications. So really, spray the grape and not spray the whole wine plant, for example. It's innovation in biologicals, and we heard a lot about that already today from certainly Giuseppe and Cory. And this is to make the crop stronger and to improve the acceptance of food and food quality. And the third field of innovation is what we just heard about. It's innovation in soil health, give farmers access to carbon markets, that they get a reward when they reduce the carbon footprint, and innovation in biodiversity. And all of that is where we are investing in research, but also in helping farmers concretely to apply these new technologies and solutions, as we heard in the beginning from Alexei. And you will now say, oh, wait a minute, Ukraine is not EU. But I have to say that sometimes outside the EU, things go way faster. EU is more bureaucratic. It's much slower in being open to innovation, to new solutions than basically around the EU, where we are kind of speeding up and really deploying some of the new technology and tools we're having to get them ready for when we can launch them in the EU as well.
Mm-hmm. Simon asked, do you think the EU Commission's Green Deal goals are realistic in a time perspective? And is technology or will it be ready to achieve them?
So we take on the challenge, but we have to see at the end of the day if we can make it in that speed. I'm doubtful of 25% organic agriculture if consumers would be ready to pay more for their food. That's where I have doubt, but it's definitely something we will look at into. We will innovate in biological solutions for organic agriculture as well. Reducing pesticides by 50%, we need to assess the impact of that, whether that can be done economically and European farmers are still able to protect the crops and produce them at cost points which are interesting for them, but also competitive in the market. So we are really investing a lot of efforts in trying out how can we actually do that. Going down with over-fertilization, Giuseppe was alluding to that. There are technologies ready today, but we need to bring them faster out into the market and give growers the chance to experiment with them over a couple of seasons to really see that it's not only more sustainable, the farming system, but definitely also more profitable. So I do think many of the technologies are ready. It takes effort for the farmer, it takes investment for her or him to invest and be profitable, and they need support. So yes, a very ambitious plan for the Green Deal. We are ready. We aligned our resources to innovate for Europe, and we will support farmers.
I'm going to bring in this thought here from Johan. What should be the message of the EU and national politicians to the fork, the consumer side of society regarding the Green Deal?
I do think consumers need to have trust in the European food system. We know from consumer research, consumers want to buy regionally and locally produced food, and even more so after we all experienced earlier last year that suddenly our supermarket shelves were empty when there was a rush of everybody kind of filling the home refrigerator when the COVID lockdown started. So consumers really want local food, and they need to trust that local food is really local, that there is transparency, traceability, and that it's produced in the most sustainable manner. So I do think this assurance needs to come certainly from local politicians, from regulators, from retail, from local food companies, and then from the farmers. And I do think when consumers have the trust, there is more willingness to pay for good quality food. And I do think then also, you know, these solid boundaries between this is an organic label and this is a conventional one, I think they need to resolve. We need to come to a system to look at, is the food we are eating, is that produced in a regenerative manner? For me, organic is just a very narrow concept. I know it's a political target, but I really think from an agronomic perspective and from a nature perspective, we need different concepts of more regenerative agriculture to have consumers trusting in that the food which is produced locally is really done to the benefit of the farmer and the planet.
Just staying on the theme here of the consumer, because very often when it comes to the way agriculture is done, products that are used to farming to increase the amount of yield, etc., the public is often quite cynical about what is happening in the food system, and they're often accusing companies for not working in alliance with nature. And then we spent 90 minutes saying, Syngenta, working with sustainable solutions. Why should the public trust a company like Syngenta? Other companies who are now saying, we're on the sustainable track.
Yeah. I really like that we are under constant public scrutiny. I think it helps us to get feedbacks in what is really required. So I don't mind at all that mistrust and the scrutiny. We are a science-based organization. We're investing real dollars. We're investing, the intelligence and the enthusiasm of a lot of our thousands of employees into helping to make agriculture more sustainable. And I think it's good that we have the opportunity to explain what we are doing and to be challenged on that. So I really think it's the right dialogue. That's what's happening in actually any democratic system on which we are standing up, we want to be part of. So I absolutely think it's the right discussion, and that should continue.
I love this question from Slovenia. I love all of your questions. How do you convince decision makers, consumers, and NGOs that integration of conventional and biologicals is the only right way forward? I don't even know if you agree with that, Alexandra. So start with, do you agree? And then how do you convince?
I absolutely agree to that. And it's all about dialogue and working together. I give you an example. Syngenta has a strategic partnership with the Nature Conservancy, which is the largest environmental NGO in the world. Not very much known in Europe, but very, very well established in the Americas and in APAC. We have worked with them over the course of the last 3 years in redesigning our R&D programs, our R&D investments for more sustainable agricultural breakthroughs. We're working with them in the fields in Brazil, we're working with them in the field in Argentina, in the United States, in China, in Kenya to drive large-scale initiatives. We're talking here about millions of hectares of change towards more regenerative agriculture. So I think these sort of collaborations, strategic interactions, and dialogues is the path to go for companies, certainly to adjust and to change and to invest differently, but also for societal actors like an NGO to really believe that company can accelerate for different outcomes. So I think that's a prime example. I think how things can be done and should be done, not only by companies like Syngenta, but by all credible companies, by farm organizations. We need to come to a different dialogue. I do really think these times of black and white and campaigns, I understand politics, but I really think they don't lead us now into what the Green Deal should achieve and want to achieve. It's about working together to make it happen.
Thank you for the questions. The questions are rolling in. This is sustainable solutions from Syngenta. We have spent almost 90 minutes looking at some of those sustainable solutions. We are debating them, discussing them. You are asking your questions. We are now looking at now what? You're looking at the EU Green New Deal, and then what happens in the next 10 years in terms of sustainable agriculture. Alexandra Brand is here. She's answering all of your questions. We have 4 minutes left. You've got a question, type it in. This is from Roland. Will the EU Green Deal open the agricultural sector to carbon markets? Alexandra?
I would love to see that. Most of the technologies are ready for farmers to not only reduce the carbon footprint they have today, but use the soil to sequester carbon, to build up soil organic matter. With that, make the soil more fertile. So technologies are there. It takes a couple of agricultural harvests to really get the soil carbon up. We really understand that now much better. We have solutions like the Valagro product portfolio to help support that. So I would love to see that, because it would really strongly make farmers part of the solution of climate change. It would help soil biodiversity. It would help, soil fertility overall. And it would be just a fantastic new income source for farmers if they can trade the carbon credits they generate to people who need carbon credits to offset their own footprint. So it would be fantastic if we would have a regenerative agriculture focused on soil carbon and mitigating climate change.
And there's a part 2 to Roland's question. So he asked about opening up the agriculture sector to carbon markets. Would that be an opportunity for the sector if it internalizes environmental costs and provides return on investments if carbon sequestration is rewarded?
Internalization of cost is an interesting concept, but I really think it's difficult to implement. The European farmer is in competition worldwide. So if we would go in that direction, it needs a worldwide governance system. And I do really think in this multilateral world, we are far away from that. So I'd rather look for economic solutions for farmers, and carbon insetting in their soils and generating credits is an economic solution on its own, which can stand on a European basis in a very productive and profitable manner. So I'd rather go in that direction than thinking of insetting externalized costs for Europe only, and with that, make European farmers less competitive, and with that bring more economic problems to farmers.
Oh, I like this from Larislava. How can Syngenta change its business model and make money out of sustainable solutions?
Well, we are very much doing that with applying chemicals in a more precise way. We are already earning from that today. Certainly with the biocontrols and biostimulants, that's the business model for us, absolutely. And guess what? We are starting to sell digital solutions as a service to pharma. So we are also earning from great algorithms where we are using the farm data we have access to provide farmers with better prediction on diseases, for example, where we provide farmers with better advice for the seeds they plant. So already there you see kind of Syngenta getting into a service business model. And the investments we are doing in digital agriculture, documenting what happens agronomically on farm, providing algorithms, for example, to calculate the carbon footprint of a farm. This is a new business model for us, and there is a value for farmers paying for that, absolutely, that knowledge we are generating and helping them to get more onto the outcomes of the Green Deal.
I am wondering, with this activity and this sense of purpose, would this have come without the EU Green Deal? Are you being pushed?
Well, the answer is no. And the best example is here what Alex provided us a couple of hours ago. Ukraine is not part of the EU, but the Ukrainian farmers absolutely want to do carbon farming. Our largest initiative where we have been investing in sustainable breakthrough come today from the United States, from Brazil, and from China. So it doesn't require the EU Green Deal to convince a company of Syngenta to invest and generate new business from that. Absolutely, the EU must, from my perspective, really speed up and enable this sort of innovation that European farmers can profit from that as well. So that's why we welcome the Green Deal, and we need regulatory frameworks to really help us to speed up this sort of innovation for European farmers.
I think change is always difficult for all of us, whether it's change in terms of policy, change in terms of standards, sustainability standards, and trends that are going in that direction. But there will be some people who feel that this is a threat to business, a threat to farming, a threat to agriculture. The idea that there's an EU Green Deal and there are goals that have to be met in the next decade. Is it a threat to Syngenta?
I do think that there are still many people out there, companies, but also farmers, farm organizations, who think the Green Deal is a threat. I fully agree to that. And it's not done yet. If it's done wrongly, of course it's a threat to the European farming sector. I am convinced when innovation is there and we power through these innovations, it can get done to the benefit of the European farming sector. And this is what I've been personally standing up for as a business leader, as a sustainability leader. And that's where I'm trying really to help and lead, the Syngenta organization too. And I get a lot of, enthusiastic feedback from Syngenta. And you've been seeing, some of my colleagues here today that they are enthusiastic about that opportunity as well. So I do think as an organization, as a company, we are over that in terms of understanding that as a threat. But definitely, it can still go wrong, the Green Deal, and we must have these sort of dialogues, these sort of feedbacks, that we really get it right together and we get the outcome to the benefit of the farmers we are all aiming for.
Alexandra Brand, thank you for taking the questions. You were in the hot seat and you didn't falter even once. Really appreciate you. Many thanks. So you have been watching Sustainable Solutions from Syngenta. This virtual event is part of Solutions Week. Solutions Week is part of FFA 2021, goes on all the way through March, and then on March 23rd, that is the big day, the big conference day. If you're not registered already, I highly recommend you register. Great conversation, opportunities for you to engage as well. But for now, I will let you jump offline and then jump back online so that you can be registered for the rest of FFA 2021. Thank you for being part of this virtual event. Appreciate you.